Hello everyone, Mob Spider here. Hope you all are having a fantastic day today, and if I sound a lot giddier in this video than I usually do, it's because I am. Black Ops 6 is right around the corner, and a lot of speculation has been made and a lot of leaks have come out, but one thing that we've known for a while is that Gobblegums are returning from Black Ops 3. Personally, I loved the Black Ops 3 Gobblegum system, and I am super happy to see it return. But while a lot of people are trying to speculate on which Gobblegums are returning, I'm more interested in if there are going to be any new Gobblegums and what those Gobblegums are going to be. Personally, I think that it would be really cool to have some new ones instead of them all just being returning ones. So I thought it would be really fun in this video to basically come up with 10 different ideas for different Gobblegums and basically share my thoughts. Kind of talking about how useful they would be and maybe how to keep them somewhat balanced. A lot of these are pretty overpowered. But keep in mind that this is just for fun. Take these with a hint of salt, and if these do show up in the game at some point, I take no credit for them. I'm sure they thought of this way before I did. This is just a video that I thought would be fun and I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on. But without further ado, let's begin. Really quick disclaimer though before we get started. Some of these Gobblegums rely on different perks either being or not being in the game, or also the same thing with certain systems. So if these systems don't appear in the game, obviously these Gobblegums would be completely redundant since they would serve no real purpose. But again, this is all just speculation. Nothing really has been confirmed about the zombies aside from Gobblegums returning. So again, just take this with a hint of salt. This is just meant to be a fun video. So the first Gobblegum that I want to talk about that I think would be a really nice addition to the game, and honestly this might actually be the most useful one of the bunch. This one I'm going to call Tunnel Vision, and basically this is a reverse Fear in Headlights. For those of you that don't know, in Black Ops 3 there was a Gobblegum called Fear in Headlights, which would make it so zombies would stop moving when you looked at them, but once you turned your back to them, they would start moving towards you, almost like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. However, I think it would be really cool to have a Gobblegum that was basically the opposite of this, where zombies would only move if you're looking at them. I think this would be very useful for setting up, and also it would be extremely useful for Easter egg steps. Some of my least favorite Easter egg steps are ones where I need to be paying attention to something and zombies are constantly hitting me in the back, such as the dartboard step on Firebase Z for the part for the Wonder Weapon, and it's just super annoying on solo. So I think that having a Gobblegum like this would be really useful and would actually really help a lot. As for how long I think this Gobblegum should last, I think it should either last for one round, so you could try and do as much as you need to for an Easter egg step, or for a certain period of time, like, let's say 3 minutes. I think that would be pretty good. But yeah, that was my first idea for a Gobblegum, and honestly, this is probably the best sounding one of the bunch, but the other ones I think would be pretty neat additions as well. So the next Gobblegum that I want to talk about, and I think that this one would be a really good feature, this one I'm going to call Streak Sweeper. Basically, this is a one-time use Gobblegum that gives you a random kill streak. Cold War had a system where you could use salvage to craft different kill streaks, but I think it would be cool to have a Gobblegum that would give you one for free. Now, in order to make up for it, I feel like the better and more expensive a certain kill streak is, the rarer it will be to get out of that Gobblegum. So basically, you are way more likely to get things like an RCXD or a Death Machine or a War Machine compared to something like a Chopper Gunner or a Cruise Missile or something like that. This Gobblegum, I feel like this would be the most plausible one to come out of the bunch, but again, I'm not really sure if this one would be too overpowered or if it would even be in the game at all. The next Gobblegum that I want to talk about, I'm going to call Double Trouble. And basically what this Gobblegum does is it's basically a Gobblegum version of Double Tap. But in order to make it more interesting, I think what this Gobblegum should do is it should give you infinite ammo, and it should also stack with Double Tap or Rain of Fire or anything else that could be in the game that increases your damage. This Gobblegum is honestly just a very quick and kind of gimmicky one, but I think it could be pretty useful. And also for a time, I would probably say maybe about like 30 seconds or so for like how an insta-kill would be almost. It is kind of redundant because of insta-kill, but I still think that this could be a cool Gobblegum if it's done right. The next two are both pretty similar, so I'm going to kind of combine them in this section, but this is going to be Reign of Rot and Thunderdome. So Reign of Rot is basically exactly what it sounds like, almost like a Ring of Fire effect, but with brain rot. So basically you activate it and any zombies near you get brain rotted and end up attacking other zombies for you. Basically it would make for a really good camping strategy, and it would also be good for holdout objectives for like Easter eggs and stuff. And then for Thunderdome, this is basically a similar thing, but it automatically activates when you're one hit away from going down, and it basically just does a thunder gun effect around you, basically sending any zombies that are within a certain radius around you going just absolutely flying. Not only do I think that this would be a practical Gobblegum, it would also just be fucking hilarious to watch all the zombies around you go flying. These Gobblegums, again, like I said, they are pretty similar, so I'm just combining them in this section here. But I think that both of these Gobblegums would be a fantastic addition, because we also have Gobblegums pretty similar to this, such as Burned Out. The next Gobblegum that I want to talk about, I'm calling Third Eye. Basically, this is Vulture Aid or Death Perception, but a time-based Gobblegum. Death Perception and Vulture Aid have an ability that basically make it so you can see important items through walls, whether that being perks or different like Easter egg parts or whatever. And I think that having a time-based version would be really good if you're trying to learn the map. Maybe this could be like a classic Gobblegum that isn't really that good, and then once you have Vulture Aid or Death Perception, if it does make a return, be kind of pointless. I think that it would be pretty good to have for when you're just trying to learn the ropes of a map, or if you, especially if there's like random perk locations and you're trying to find a specific perk. Like for certain maps where there are random perk locations, such as the Giant, I hate having to go around trying to find out where Juggernog is, and I think a Gobblegum like this would just really help. The next Gobblegum I want to talk about, I'm going to call CPK Bar, which is basically the Tier 5 melee ability from Cold War. For those of you that don't know, Cold War, if you upgraded your melee to Tier 5, it would make it so when you did a melee attack, it would basically heal you. Hence the name CPK Bar, because K Bar is like a knife and CPR. But anyways, I think that this Gobblegum would be pretty useful, especially if we do have some, like, another melee wonder weapon, such as the Crystal Axe. I think that that would be really cool. And also, I think that this would also be good for if you're in a tight corner and you just need to heal, but you don't have anything to basically get yourself out of that situation. Just keep meleeing zombies and it'll basically heal you back to full. So I think that this Gobblegum would be pretty cool, and it would honestly be pretty practical as well. But if they do bring back the upgrade system with the crystals and they end up bringing this ability back, this Gobblegum would kind of be redundant. So it just matters on whether or not they decide to bring the upgrade system back. The next Gobblegum is Half Off Down, and basically this one I feel like would actually be really, really good. So this one would basically make it so that when you go down, you would only lose half of your perks as opposed to losing every single one of your perks. For example, let's say in Black Ops 3 you have a Perkaholic and then you end up going down. It is really annoying when you lose literally every single perk that you had on you. So I think to make up for that, there should be a Gobblegum that only makes it so you lose half of your perks when you go down. So let's say you have 6 perks and you end up going down, that way you only lose 3, so that way you can come back up, especially on later rounds, and not be entirely screwed. In my opinion, this Gobblegum would be really helpful for high rounds, and also Easter egg boss fights, honestly, this would be pretty good for. But that's just my opinion, and also I think that in order to keep this a little bit balanced, maybe it only works once or maybe twice. But I feel like that this Gobblegum would be a much needed and much welcome addition. The next Gobblegum concept that I have in mind is called Vicious Voodoo, which basically just makes it so that when you damage special zombies such as mimics, manglers, just throwing out some examples here, it also damages nearby regular zombies. I think that this would be really good for crowd control, and also if you're in a tight area, like if you're cornered, it would be really nice to just need to damage the special zombie and then it basically just kills the zombies around you. I think that this would be really good for high rounding, and I think that it should maybe last like 3 rounds or so. I think that this Gobblegum would be pretty sweet, and I honestly think that this kind of sounds like an actual Gobblegum that would be in the game. Like, if you told me that this was a leaked Gobblegum, honestly, I would believe you. The final Gobblegum concept I have in mind, I'm going to call Wrench in the Works. Basically, it's a 2-time use Gobblegum that just gives you an Aether Tool. For those of you that don't know, Aether Tools were in Cold War, and they basically made it so that you increase the rarity of your gun, which increases your damage, and it also stacks alongside Pack-a-Punch as well. I think it would be cool to have a Gobblegum for just being able to upgrade these for free, maybe once or twice. And it would also be really useful because especially the higher rarities are really expensive. So having a Gobblegum that could just speed along that process would really help a lot, especially if you're trying to speed run boss fights and you just need a gun that deals a ton of damage really quick, or even high rounding. And those were 10 different Gobblegum concepts that I have in mind for Black Ops 6. Like I said, I don't expect any of these to actually be in the game, and if they are in the game, I'm sure these were thought of long before I made this video. But I think these Gobblegums would be pretty cool, and if somebody from Treyarch happens to be watching this video, which I highly doubt, but if these Gobblegums could be added, that would be absolutely awesome. Obviously, I don't expect all of these to be added, especially with certain perks or systems returning, but I think that it would be cool to have at least some of these, especially the ones like Vicious Voodoo or Half Off Down. I think would be really cool to have in the game, and they would also be really helpful. Gobblegums, I know, are kind of a controversial subject because a lot of people consider them overpowered, but in my opinion, that's the fucking point of them. They're meant to be fun, they're meant to be overpowered, so I thought it would be really fun to basically come up with my own ideas for really overpowered Gobblegums. But I want to hear from you guys. What Gobblegums from my list do you want to see in this game, and which ones do you think are better off not being in the game? Do you have any concepts for Gobblegums that you would like to share as well? Let me know in the comments down below. But with that being said, guys, this was Mob Spider, and I'll see you all in a few days. Actually, I have another video planned, so I will see you all then.